and welcome to our interview series where we attempt to uncover what makes someone a leader, regardless of title. Metamorphosis, I would want to start by talking about Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a vertical of SAMAKSH-SoulWaters, focusing on leadership development solutions for organizations, individuals, and teams. As coaches, we bring a holistic lens to leadership and a common belief that a leader's individual journey toward wholeness is critical to addressing today's rapidly changing and complex challenges. And this interview series, which we've aptly named "Who is a Leader," is an interview series where we endeavor to understand what defines a leader and how aligned are leaders to their core traits. We seek to clarify how leaders help people move forward and what is redefining leadership today. With that, today we have with us a successful finance leader who comes with 2 decades of experience in financial services industry, in broking and banking, spanning organizations such as Kotak, MotilalOswal, Akshay, and now with NSDL Payments Bank. He's none other than Ashutosh Singh, the CEO of NSDL Payments Bank. Ashutosh has a triple PG. He's a chartered accountant. He's done his MBA and he's a master's in commerce. He has a wealth of experience in starting businesses and taking them to market leadership positions. Thank you for being here today with us, Ashutosh.
Thank you, Akshay.
Now, without wasting any further time, I would like to proceed with our interview, of course, with your permission. But if there's anything that you would want to say, please feel free to say before we begin.
So Akshay, first of all, I would like to extend my thanks for having me as part of this series, and wish you and your enterprise all the very best in this journey that I think you started only about 6 months back. So all the very best, Akshay.
Thank you, Ashutosh. So you head a payments bank, which you joined just under a year ago, and then shortly after, we were hit by the lockdown. How have the last 6 months of lockdown been for you?
So Akshay, let me preface my response by firstly acknowledging that this indeed is a very tough period for the vast many who are suffering either medically or financially in what I would think is one of the worst life and livelihood tragedies of our times. I think the essence of this crisis was beautifully captured by Helen Clark, former Prime Minister of New Zealand. When asked about the crisis, she remarked, "Economies can recover, but the debt cannot." So on that note, Akshay, I would firstly like to express my gratitude and really wish for a speedy recovery for the vast many who are ailing either medically or financially under the onslaught of this very severe crisis. Now, coming to the specific question, how has the last 6 months been for me personally and for the organization? So let me take the back end first about the organization. So I think it's sheer coincidence. We launched our flagship product called NSDL Jiffy sometime towards the end of January. And within 60 days, we were hit by a lockdown. So luckily for us, the 60 days allowed us enough time to iron out the initial wrinkles in our account opening journey so that, we could have a journey that was working smoothly. Come April, when we were in the middle of pan-India lockdown, what happened in the lockdown was most of the digital fence-sitters who were, not very comfortable using digital means for fulfilling their financial transactions, even they started adopting and flocking to digital channels in a big way. And luckily for us, since we had already conceived and rolled out a digital savings bank journey, we were direct beneficiaries of this shift in consumer behavior. So, just to quote a number, in the month of Feb and March, we had done about 1,100, 1,200 accounts. And suddenly, come April, we started clocking 10x of those numbers. And we maintained that growth pretty much throughout the lockdown period. Let me be also the first one to concede that obviously we are a startup bank and we are coming off a low base. But I think you take 10x growth in numbers in any situation, anytime. So yeah, I mean, the lockdown period that way from a business standpoint hasn't been too bad. And what this initial success also did for us as an organization is it suddenly energized and galvanized the whole team. In the last 6 months, we had a flurry of products that we rolled out. to the market. So whether, for a payment bank, some of these products are very, very important. Just to name a few, we rolled out domestic money transfers, we rolled out our micro ATM products, Aadhaar ATM, we are almost on the verge of rolling out. And these are products on the financial inclusion side. And we've already hit our stride in some of these products. We've seen our numbers scale very rapidly. There's another product called prepaid cards. So there again, I think we are, if not the only bank, at least we would be in an exclusive group of banks that has launched a prepaid card, a virtual prepaid card, before it has even started testing on a physical prepaid card. So I think that's another product that we rolled out and we've scaled rapidly there too. So from an organization standpoint, I think the last 6 months have been very productive. We've seen a lot of traction on products, projects getting rolled out. We've seen traction even on our business numbers. And, sitting here as I look ahead, while I would think that there could be some swinging back of the pendulum on the brick and mortar space, overall, the digital march would continue, and our organization is pretty well placed to basically capitalize on the digital momentum, since most of our products are underpinned on digital technologies. So I think, from an organization standpoint, it augurs well. I think this shift in behavior, this shift towards digital channels, it augurs well for our organization, and we are well placed to capitalize on that. So that's what the last 6 months have meant for the organization. And for me personally, I think it's been an interesting period. Seeing your kids grow up, seeing them fight over TV channels, fight over food they want to have. It's good fun. The last 6 months have actually also made me more appreciative of how difficult it is to manage the kids full-time basis and also look after their studies. So I've suddenly gotten very appreciative of the work that my wife is doing with the kids back home. So yeah, Akshay. So I think last 6 months have been interesting, good mix. But having said all this, I think now I'm itching to go back, because I think in terms of the utility of achieving productivity gains, rolling out projects, and doing all these video calls, I think somewhere we've outlived the utility, and now I think human beings are mostly social animals.
Yes.
And I'm no exception. So I think I'm really looking forward to going back to office and, resuming my regular routine life.
Right. That's great. Good to know that this has been a productive period for you and the company. I believe, you've been a leader for over a decade, leading large and small teams. So what, according to you, are traits that make a good leader?
So Akshay, my personal take on this is, I don't think there is any fixed formula here. There is no one-size-fits-all approach here. I think each leader brings his own unique style, approach, and character to leading teams, setting, achieving goals. And the good news is, as experience would play out, that this diversity seems to work. And then again, for the same leader, you could have situations where the leader has to change his leadership style, depending upon the type of organization he finds himself leading, depending upon the context and reality of the situation he finds himself in. Just to quote my own experience here, prior to joining NSDL Bank, my last job was at Axis Securities, where I spent close to 8 years. So there I was leading a large team of 1,500 people. This was again, Axis Securities is a very entrenched player in the space. As a leader, I was looking after a pretty mature product line. So here the approach was mostly light touch. You would jointly set targets with the team, and I just treated the team members like mature adults who on most occasions you would trust to get the job done. And it's no surprise, when you lead a team of highly motivated and conscientious workers, results follow. So, just to give you this example of Axis Securities, for 3 years in a row, we were rated as the best growing broking house by Dun & Bradstreet. And again, for 2 years in a row, we were number one in client acquisition, beating the big boys in their own game. And this was when we were barely a 5-year-old entity. So, coming back to the leadership style there in Axis Securities, it was, like I said, mostly a light touch approach where you would jointly, create ambitious goals. As a leader, I would be focused on, just devising, co-creating the right set of tools and training material and incentive plans for the team. And lo and behold, the results were always there. So that was a very lucky stint I had with Axis Securities, where we had a lot of proud moments. Now, cut to NSDL Bank. I've been a part of the startup now for the last 1 year. Here, the approach is very different. Here, it's very hands-on. Here, for the most part, I try to lead by example, be the first man in office, last man to leave office. even the frequency of reviews and the frequency of communication internally within the team members, and also communication with technology service providers that we work with, our business partners that we work with. The communication is a lot more frequent. Since this is a startup, you're trying to get a lot of intensity in terms of products being rolled out, projects adhering to timelines. So it's a very different approach, but thankfully, even this approach seems to be working. I mean, the last 6-7 months, despite the lockdown, we've been fairly successful in rolling out products and scaling businesses. So it clearly bears out, how the same leader has had to change his approach. But like I said, the good news is the diversity in approaches seems to be working. And but there are a couple of things, Akshay, which I would like to point out. So while every situation will demand a different leadership style and approach, there are a couple of common denominators or unifying thread which I've had in my decade plus of leadership. So one is I'm a very communicative person. I put a strong emphasis on communication. The advantage is when there is an open door policy, when there is an ample role and goal clarity that you provide to the team members. When the team members know that you're easily accessible, you'll be the first one to know feedback off the ground real time, right? So that's one big advantage, and that's one thing that I've always ensured whichever entity I'm leading. So this is a unifying thread across my leadership stints. So strong emphasis on communication, extremely important for me, and it has stood me in good stead. The other one is as a leader, you always have to set the agenda, and this is because I've seen many leaders or managers who actually get this wrong. And in the beginning of my leadership stints, this was a problem that even I encountered. What happens is you go to office, you open your mailbox, and there are so many mails you read through, and you just lose sight of the bigger picture, right? You cannot let others dominate that space for you. You cannot let others set the agenda for you. So as a leader, you have to set the agenda. What those 3 or 4 important mails that you send out are. I think that is what a leadership team, and that is what a leader should essentially focus on. Because I mean, if you're just clearing your inboxes, you're living off somebody else's agenda. So I think a strong emphasis on communication and trying to set the agenda as a leader are 2 things that I've always tried to maintain in whichever entity, whichever teams I have led in the past or I'm leading today.
That was very interesting and made so much sense. Surely there must have been leaders in your career you've learned from. So, tell us who and what is it that you've learned from your leaders, from your gurus?
I think, Akshay, there have been a whole lot of leaders I've learned from. Honestly, I've been very fortunate, very blessed to have had good leaders all through my career. And but there are obviously a few people I would like to give a shout out to. One name that instantly comes to mind is Amit Golia. He is more of a friend now. We have known each other for more than 15 years. I started my journey with him in MotilalOswal in 2006. And, I shall always forever be indebted to him for the effort, for the time he has taken to invest in building me as a leader. And I think he's had a lot of influence over how I have evolved my leadership style. There are a couple of traits of his that I would like to point out, which I have also obviously tried to emulate in my own career. One is his ability, his passion, his focus on building the right teams. He goes out of the way, he invests in his people, he grooms them as leaders. And I've been obviously a big beneficiary of that leadership style of his. So that's one thing that I try to emulate from him, because I think it's extremely critical, especially if you want to expand your own career, to have a team that is full of motivated and conscientious workers. And, the way Amit has done that over the years is exemplary. There are so many people who have worked under him at some point in time who are, right now in their own capacities, pretty accomplished leaders themselves. So I think that's one trait which I've tried to pick up from Amit. The other one is his ability to size up the situation and respond very, very crisply to the point to even the satisfaction of the naysayers, the detractors. Because I've seen a lot of these board meetings, when you have questions being fired from all sides, and the way Amit would retain his calm and composure, size up the situation, and respond crisply to satisfy even the detractors or some of the tough questions that he's handled in that very calm and composed way. So these are qualities that I think are stellar in Amit, and obviously I've tried to pick those. And another thing I would like to say, today we've reached a stage, today our relationship is evolved into a dynamic where it is more of friendship than he being a mentor or being a boss. I mean, obviously he is and will always remain a mentor for me. But today we are more of friends. But the respect is very important to add here, that the respect I had for him 15 years ago and the respect I have for him today, that is honestly not changed one bit. And if anything, that's only grown over the years. Another person, I would like to mention here is Mr. Arun Thukral. He was our MD and CEO at Axis Securities. His ability to see through the clutter and still pick up the high impact areas and be extremely focused on delivering on those high impact areas is again peerless. I mean, that's another quality that I've picked from another boss, and that is really helping me in the current times. I speak about in the previous in my previous comments on the previous question. Also, I did mention about setting the agenda and how a leader should always be focused on setting the agenda, and that's one quality I think he's a great exponent of. My current chairman, he's the MD and CEO of NSDL, Mr. Nageshwar Rao. I think his energy levels are infectious, and each and everyone in the bank can swear by that. His quest for knowledge and his attitude towards always challenging the status quo, always thinking about how we can solve problems for the merchant, for the customers in innovative ways. That is again par excellence. So that's those traits again is quite peerless. Another trait of his that I really admire is his detail orientation. And that's rare. I mean, for a person of his stature, his level, to have that kind of detail orientation, to have that kind of hands-on approach is extremely rare. So these are some of the qualities of his, as a package, obviously it comes across as a complete dynamite. But these are some of the qualities of his that I would like to emulate. And trust me when I say this, I think if I can emulate these qualities even to the extent of 50 to 60%, I think by the time I hang up my boots, I would have had a very, very satisfying career. So so these are people who come to mind. These are people who I've worked with who immediately come to mind as the top three leaders who impacted my life. Apart from these, Akshay, there are obviously leaders that you read about, you hear about, and there are a couple of guys, Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, for the passion that they have towards building extremely simple, very intuitive customer journeys, keeping the customer front and center. I think these are again some things that we are trying to do in our own experience at NSDL Bank. So yeah, I mean, more or less, these are the top three leaders I've worked with, and these are a couple of other guys who come to mind on customer centricity. So that's again a very important foundational philosophy that we are trying to work on within our own bank. So all in all, Akshay, I think very blessed, very fortunate to have had great leaders. And while I may have not named a few others, like one is Chokhani, my first boss at DCB more than 20 years ago. No, sorry, not more than 20 years ago, around 18 years ago. But yes, again, he's also impacted my life in a big way. We are still in touch, great friends. So I may be missing out on names here, but trust me, every boss I've worked with has had an impact in my life in a very positive way.
Okay, that's excellent. All right, one lucky chap you are, Ashutosh. So I think just to recap what we've done. We've seen how the last 6 months have been for you and your organization. We've spoken about, traits that make a good leader. We've also seen, you've spoken about the different, things you learned from your leaders, from your gurus. So again, taking the aspect of learning forward, would you want to tell us, any leadership moment or moments you cherish the most?
So, Akshay, I mean, there have been a lot of proud moments. Having a cabinet full of awards and certificates is obviously a very proud moment, and that is something that, as a leader of organization, you should try to achieve. But I firmly believe in this thought that once your career is done and dusted, people don't remember you by the awards and by the certificates you've won. I think what people really remember you by is how you touched their lives when they were working with you and when you're working with them. How you made them feel in their weak personal moments, how you stood by them in their weak personal moments, how you stood by them, how you treated them in their subpar professional performances. So I think these are things that are extremely important. The trick here is obviously you have to be empathetic, but at the same time, you have to be genuine. I mean, to me personally, while obviously the moments where we've won all these awards and certificates are extremely proud and I hold them dear. But what I hold more dear is the fact that today somebody from Canada, US, former employee, he remembers me on Guru Purnima. And sends a thank you message for having impacted his life, having touched his life in a good way. Another thing that I hold really dear is every year on my birthday when I have a set of former employees who show up outside my door with a bouquet and with a cake. Obviously this year because of the mobility restrictions, didn't have anyone. But otherwise every year people showing up outside your door with a cake and bouquet. And these are all former employees who are either well settled in their existing organizations or some of them have started their own businesses. So there is no vested interest at play here, just to clarify.
Right.
So I think these are moments that give me a lot of satisfaction. And I think every leader should aspire to touching lives, impacting lives, creating leaders, investing in people, because that's the only way people are going to remember you. Award certificates obviously are important, but like I said, when you're done and dusted with your career, I think it'll just lie somewhere in the corner of your house and doesn't hold too much value after you're 60 maybe.
Right. I completely agree with you. These are the softer things and softer moments that we cherish for life.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, let's talk about some generic things, right? Would you want to tell us about any areas you feel you need to work on as a leader?
Yeah, any leadership enterprise is always work in progress. So having said that, obviously all the leadership traits I talked about, it's not as if you can never attain mastery. These are things that you keep working on all the time. So while the whole enterprise of leadership is always going to be work in progress, but there is one area that and this is more of a personal weakness as well, more of an area of self-improvement, but it can be extended to my leadership too. I tend to get a little impatient, a little too fast. And also at times I have a short fuse and I could explode. So these are, so this is one area where, I think I really need to invest more energy, more effort, and I need to really improve on this area. It'll help me in my personal life as well as my leadership. But having said that, let me also be very quick to clarify that the people who work with me obviously know that just in the moment and beyond it, these things don't even last beyond the discussion. So I think we just clink glasses after any heated discussion or debate like that, and I think it's all forgotten, or at least I hope it's all forgotten. So let me be very quick to also assure you, Akshay, that these moments are extremely rare. Or you start making a caricature of an intemperate boss out of me. So so don't like I said, these are extremely rare moments, and it's not as if I'm a very good efficient exponent of theory X style management. So none of that.
Okay.
It's a rare.
Right. Thanks for clarifying, Ashutosh, but that's okay. I think we all have our weaknesses, and acknowledging them is the first step. And I'm glad you've been so transparent about it. Okay, so now this question is more to do with your current state. I believe Payments Bank is a tough model with so many surrendering licenses and Aditya Birla even closing down. How do you retain your composure, and also how do you manage the anxiety of the team in light of these negative developments?
Thanks, Akshay. Thanks for this question. because I think this question assumes a lot of significance, especially because of the times we find ourselves in. So let me do one thing here. Let me take the back end of your question first, which was about how do you handle or how do you manage the anxious moments of the team. So I think communication obviously is very important, and that's a trait I pride myself on. So I think having that regular channel of communication with the team members, giving them confidence all the time, is very important. But more important as of now is the fact that the team realizes that they work for NSDL, which is a very strong and stable brand. Even in these tough times, the company took a call where we decided to actually, reward our people with good bonuses and increments at a time when, making jobs redundant, giving salary cuts had become par for the course. So by taking this contrarian call and rewarding people for the effort and for the results they had, managed to bring about for in the last financial year, so that goes a long way in inspiring the team and giving them a lot of confidence. Plus the fact, like I already pointed out, NSDL per se is also a very, very strong and stable name. To go along with all this, you have a board, you have a chairman of the board who's extremely supportive of what we are trying to achieve as an organization. So I think the board realizes here that as long as you keep doing the right things day after day, week after week, results are just around the corner. Then, so that's how we manage. That's how we managed to tide over this problem of anxiety, and how we try to get the team not to be distracted by what's happening around them in these COVID times. And to the point you made about payment bank being a tough model, I would concur to an extent. Because from an outsider viewpoint, it does seem that it's a model where there are so many businesses, there are so many product lines you cannot do. So it does appear that we are operating from a constricted space. So for example, a payments bank is not allowed to do anything on the lending side. But in the same breath, let me also add that it's not a business that I'm missing out on today, especially when I look all around and I see a lot of issues on asset quality with many institutions. So while, yes, there are a few businesses that you can't do. And second point, again, here is payment bank generally is into business lines, is into product lines that would be in the category of high frequency, high volume, low value, low margin, right? So given the two, where on one hand there is a constricted space you're operating from, and on the other hand you operate in a high frequency, low value, low margin business, it becomes imperative that you nail the right business model, right? For us, we have taken a conscious call that we don't want to be investing a lot of money in trying to build our own distribution networks. So the whole underpinning of our business model is the B2B space. So we are trying to tie up with businesses in turn who will reach out to the end consumers, because that's been our legacy, that's been our strength, and that bears out even when you map the experiences of our group entities, our parent company NSDL as well as NDML. So I think that's something that we have complete clarity on, that we want to be in the B2B space. The other underpinning of our business model is the whole technology stack, right? So we are investing a lot in technology, and with these two themes, B2B theme and the technology theme, we are trying to reach out to our business partners, give them a lot of confidence. Overall, Akshay, while we are operating obviously, and we are operating and serving a narrow range of needs, but we go really deep with our solutioning, right? So when we work with our business partners, what is it that the business partners, especially if you're focused on the B2B space, and if you have an ambition to crack and nail the piece, then what is it that you really need to focus on? So I think in our experience, we've realized that business partners, while obviously pricing is important, but my personal experience is that pricing is overhyped, it's overrated. It may help you, it may be a non-starter sometimes, it may help you clinch the deal, but it'll definitely not help you scale, it will not help you retain the relationship. So what are the other important pieces, right, in our B2B relationship? So for me, I think trying to work with the business partners, identify the product needs of the market, because they are the ones who are actually in the market, speaking with the consumers. They are our eyes and ears, so we obviously listen to them. We try to understand from them what is it that the market needs in terms of product creation. So we work together with them. We create the right set of products for our business partners. So that's one important piece when you're working in the B2B space. Apart from the product piece, the second piece that we are always striving to actually excel in is the technology piece. How do you give the business partners comfort that you have technologies, you have a technology stack that's highly scalable, that's highly responsive? So that's another piece that we are heavily committed and heavily invested in. Third is, so we talked about product, we talked about technology. The third important piece for nailing the B2B piece, how you manage to bring about operational excellence. How do you actually take the cognitive workload away from the business partners where they don't have to bother about reconciliations, accounting entries? How do you take that away? How do you create simpler onboarding experiences for their agents, for their customers? So I think achieving that operational excellence is again a very important focus area for us as a bank. And I think so far we've been fairly successful in the prepaid card model. I did allude to it in my opening remarks. But that's a business. We've already hit our stride and we started to scale in a big way. Domestic money transfer and micro ATM are again businesses that we have started to scale in a very big way. And all these things have been possible because we work very closely with our program managers. Every week we get on to calls with the program manager or the business partners teams. They are product teams, technology teams, get on a call with our product, technology and business teams where we jointly deliberate, we discuss issues, and week after week. So there is this constant pressure, constant pressure of coming back on a call with them week after week and reporting progress. So when you have an approach like that, it inspires a lot of confidence. And that's why we've been able to scale our businesses very rapidly across these product lines. I would just like to take another 30 seconds and talk about prepaid. So again, in the prepaid space, we are, I think, the only bank that has actually devised and made a product, a virtual prepaid card product, before we even started the testing for our physical prepaid cards. And we have a whole bouquet of offerings. So if a business partner comes to me, I have these offerings where I can tell him, if you want to go live, let's say on a very minimalistic virtual card on IPIN mechanism, I can take you live in 15 days flat. So virtual IPIN gift cards, 15 days flat. And then if you want to go live on the full stack, which would be your GPR cards or physical with OTP mechanism, then it might take about 45 days. So we have a full stack of offerings, and the program manager, depending upon the urgency, because especially now with festivity around the corner with Diwali, Dussehra, Christmas, we have developed these quick go-to-market solutions for our program managers. And and this is something that I've heard from the market. Another thing that is really helping us scale and win a lot of partnerships is the fact that, unlike the entrenched players, where the business coordinating with compliance and then trying to get time of risk teams and then trying to get time of technology teams, very difficult in entrenched organizations to get all these teams together quickly and turn around the solution in swift timelines. Is a challenge that most of the entrenched organizations suffer from. And this is what I have heard from the business partners as well. Here, the advantage of leading a startup is everybody's aligned. So to basically get the business team, the technology team, the compliance guys, the risk guys on one call with the program manager isn't all that difficult for us, which is why we are able to deliver solutions. Our go-to-market timelines are extremely swift. So these are things that are helping us, win mandates and in the process become a partner of choice for our BCs and for our program managers that we work with. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Your clarity of thought is striking. And I'm sure all your team members will take a lot of comfort from your words and will be more committed than ever. Any message for the young leaders or aspiring leaders of India?
From my experience, all I can say is what has really helped me in my leadership career so far. The two qualities that I have been a good exponent of in the last 10 years or so. One is always being highly communicative, ensuring that you always are speaking with the team, providing them at all points of time a role and goal clarity. And this has helped me get feedback real time from the ground. So I think being communicative is something that has really helped me. Setting your agenda is again very, very important. And this is something that I would like to warn the aspiring leaders. It's very easy to get swayed by your inboxes, those 100, 200, 300 mails, but you will lose sight of the bigger picture. I think as a leader, 3 items in your send box are far more important than those 100, 200 items in your inbox. So I think setting the agenda is another thing that has really helped me in my career. Always try to be approachable, have an open door policy. That will give a lot of confidence in the team members. So that way they will not be afraid of breaking out any bad news to you. Because as a leader, trust me, from my experience, I can tell you, while it is important for you to know the good news, but it doesn't matter whether the good news reaches you first or it comes later on. But I think as a leader, it's always important. The bad news reaches you first, right? And if you are approachable, if the team thinks that they have an easy access to you, at least you'll never suffer on that count. So I think being approachable is another very important thing. And lastly, like I had said earlier, I think being empathetic, being genuine, investing in the careers of your team members, trying to build a very strong team. Don't ever be insecure. I think if as a leader you really want to grow in your career, it's important that you have a team of extremely efficient workers working for you. So I think I think these are some of the things that have at least helped me. I think these are some of the advice, I mean, from my side at least, which I would like to give to the aspiring leaders.
Thank you very much, Ashutosh. What stayed back with me, I think, through this message is the word compassion, and I think that's what matters the most. So I think that's been awesome. And with this, we conclude our interview with Ashutosh. Thank you once again, Ashutosh, for your time. I'm sure people will benefit from your advice and your tips. I wish you and your organization all the very best. So, we will be releasing this video online on our social media platform so that it reaches millions of aspiring leaders. Yeah, so I think stay happy, stay blessed, and see you soon, Ashutosh.
Thank you so much, Akshay. Thank you so much once again for having me on as a part of your. And I wish you all the very best with your future endeavors. And I think you and your team members also need to stay safe and stay blessed.